everyone, my name is Kat Savage and I'm a professional artist, clinical hypnotherapist and wellbeing expert working with those in the creative arts sector. In my line of work, I get to meet some amazing, colourful people, from actors to artists, people who live their lives by their own rules, fueled by passion and determination to bring their unique talents into the world. I wanted to discover what it took for people to leave the usual 9 to 5 and hop on a dream, to capture their bravest moments and share these meaningful conversations with you, so that together we can explore the ideas, emotions and moments that could potentially change our lives too. So let's keep talking, have some fun and enjoy the show. This week on the show, we speak to artist and illustrator Rosie Johnson. Rosie has made quite a name for herself with the online community for creating fun, fresh and thought-provoking illustrations imbued with political and social commentary. Leaving her teaching career behind her after 15 years to pursue her dream of freelance artistry, Rosie takes us through her journey and reflects on the moments that changed and challenged her along the way. Talented, funny and wildly imaginative, it gives me great pleasure to introduce you to Rosie Johnson. Rosie Johnson illustrates. Welcome to the Brave Moment. How are you today?
Woo-hoo, hello. I'm good, thank you. So exciting. Thank you for having me.
Oh, it's a pleasure. Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to have you because, and I have to tell my listeners this straight off the bat, I was in a little cafe in Plymouth and saw one of your pictures on the wall, and it was the "What Would Jessica Fletcher Do" picture. And I was staring at it the whole time I was with my friend having a coffee, not really listening to my friend's conversation, thinking, I hope that's for sale because I need that in my life. And obviously it was. And took it home and showed everyone. And I was just like, oh my God, it's the best thing ever.
Oh, lovely. Well, I'm very sorry I've ruined that friendship because you weren't listening, but, Jessica Fletcher wins every time.
It was totally worth it, believe me. I'm just thinking of some of your pieces. Listeners, go and pause this interview right now and go and check out Rosie Johnson Illustrates. Some of the stuff that you've done with Boris and Donald Trump and stuff has just made me giggle so much through lockdown.
You've got to laugh, haven't you? What else are you going to do?
You've got to laugh. Yeah, right. Anyway, I'm going to take you back in time. Here we go. We are now in your childhood, Rosie Johnson.
Oh.
Where did you grow up and what special memory do you remember about your childhood?
Oh, lovely. Okay. Well, I was born in London, in Greenwich, and lots of my family are still there, and South East London I still feel like it's home. But then my family moved to the Isle of Wight, so a big culture shock.
Wow!
I know, yeah. It's like travelling back in time even further. But my gran and grandpa were living there, so we moved there, which was lovely, and it's beautiful. I did apparently go into my school and say, where's everybody else? Because everybody was white. Everybody was white. And I was like, I don't understand. This is bonkers. This doesn't make any sense to me. But yeah, that was a big old change. But then we kept on, all the links to London. So I feel like it's kind of a bit of both. And I guess a childhood memory that sticks out, because we spent a lot of time with my gran and grandpa when we first moved there, because we didn't have a house to stay in, so we lived there for a while. And my grandpa had made this amazing fort in the bottom of their garden called Pea Green Fort, it was called. And it had, I know, I sound like I'm out of something Enid Blyton, don't I? And it was like a little downstairsy bit, and then you could go up the ladder and there was the fort, and you could look out over the garden. And we just spent forever in it. It was brilliant. It's only small, like you could fit 3 kids in it maybe. And I think at the time, that's just your childhood, isn't it? So none of it feels like spectacular. Just like, oh yeah, I've got a fort at the bottom of my grand and grandpa's garden. And now I'm like, hang on a minute, you had a what? You had a what? So yeah, I guess that would be a real standout. We spent so long just mucking about at the bottom of the garden, and that will stick with me forever, I think.
Oh, I really, really love that. And weirdly, we used to go to the Isle of Wight, as many people in the UK did, for our family holidays. And I've got two memories of the Isle of Wight, but I'm not sure if they're real or not. So the first memory is I can remember talking about forts, being in this kind of, I don't know where it was, but there were like miniature houses and like a miniature. Like village, like I don't know what they call them.
It's Godsill Model Village is where you were, my friend. Godsill Model Village.
Oh my goodness! Yeah. So I didn't make it up in my brain. That actually is a place on the Isle of Wight.
I promise. It's
amazing.
It's a landmark. It's an absolute landmark. It's where all the cool kids go.
That's so cool. Yay. Well done, brain. Because sometimes I like muddle things up, you know, when you're like, remember that time that we went there and someone says, no, that place doesn't exist.
That was
or
a
you're
dream.
Like, oh, yeah, that's in Spain. And you went, all right, okay. So yeah, that was that. And also I bought this giant pencil with these rainbow pencils that hung off the top. And all I can remember is walking through like this wood, and we just had like, I think it was a cream tea. And we were walking through this like little wood, and I was smelling the top of that pencil.
Oh, yeah.
That smell is one of my smells from my childhood. What smell reminds you of home?
Oh, wowzers. Okay. I mean, it's tricky, isn't it? Because there's a smell that reminds you of home, like when you grew up home. And I would say tuna pea pie. Now, bear with me. Tuna pea pie is something my mum always used to make me, because I went vegetarian at 3 because I went to a city farm in London, and my mum probably foolishly said, oh, I see those pigs. That's where sausages come from. And I was like, what? I am not eating them ever again. I just blank refused. But she did get me to keep eating fish. So she was like constantly thinking of different ways of getting me to have some protein. So she would make mashed potato, white sauce, tuna and peas, all like mixed up together. And it was called tuna pea pie. Again, I just thought that was standard fare. That was like, everybody has tuna pea pie. Got to be an adult before I realised that tuna pea pie is just a made up thing that my mum made. But the smell of that is still like, yes, please, I'm home. Because no one else makes it. I suppose that's it. It doesn't exist. It's like fish pie, but cheap, I guess. It's lovely.
So what smell reminds you of your home now? Like, what do you associate with your home?
Well, right now, if I'm completely honest, it's cat wee, because we got kittens in the lockdown.
Oh, congratulations.
Well, yeah, I've persuaded my partner, and he was like, oh, go on then. And the kids are delighted, and they are gorgeous, they're wonderful, but they're rescue cats, so they were very, very nervous. And one of them shows how nervous she is by finding any porous surface and pissing in it. So pardon my language. So she was, dear old Nora. She is adorable, but she just is like, oh, a cat litter, no thank you. No thank you. I'd like to go on your freshly made bed would be my preferred. But obviously,
she got taste.
Yeah, I don't actually want that to be my smell of home. So what I think I'm going to go for is like there's an geranium essential oil that we put in our diffuser to try and make the house not smell of cat wee, and that is a lovely smell that I do associate with home. So I'm going to go with that instead.
Excellent. I'm very evocative in my mind right now about what that must smell like together in combination.
Yeah,
your friends are so lucky.
I know that's the problem. But when it was lockdown, it's like, oh well, the house smells of wee, but it's only us. And now, having people around is like, oh yeah, by the way, you might want to bring a peg for your nose. Oh,
Nora's special, bless her heart.
Yeah, lovely.
So here you are in your childhood full of fish pie and the Isle of Wight and London and all of these exciting and vibrant places for such a young person. Do you reckon at the time you were creative, or did that sort of come later on in life? Well,
now, Kat, get ready for this, because
I'm ready.
At the grand age of 5 at my primary school in London, I won the Christmas card competition.
Shut the front door.
I know. Like this today, what happens is, and I know this from my own children, is that everybody designs a Christmas card and everybody's card gets chosen. But this is the 80s where it was brutal. And basically one person drew a Christmas tree well, and they were the best one. And it was the Christmas card for the whole school. And oh my goodness, that was it. I was power hungry after that. And I think my mum still got the card. I have seen it, and it's really crap. But still, it's good for a 5-year-old. And I think I did, some of my earliest memories are drawing, sometimes on things I wasn't supposed to be drawing on, but always drawing. My mum is an amazing artist, and I think she will have encouraged it, maybe not on the walls, but certainly in all other ways.
So what I'm hearing is that you and Nora are of a similar ilk.
Yes. Oh my God, you get the cat you deserve. Oh.
Right. That's so cool, though. I think you get a solitary clap because the 80s were brutal. Here it comes. Way!
Yeah,
congratulations. So did you surround yourself with inspiration at that point? Were you even aware? Did that come up in your teenage years? Like, what, did you watch like Morph on the telly and all of that kind of stuff?
Oh, so much. Oh my God, the gallery was the biggest thing. Tony Hart was my hero. Yeah, I really did. And it's always been the thing. Both my parents were teachers, and and my brother's quite a bit older than me. So, you know, they were around a lot, but they were also working a lot. And so I would just take myself off and draw. And I've always loved picture books, obviously as a child, but I never really grew out of them. I'd have to pretend that I wanted to read big girl books, but I was like, no, I want the illustrations were always the thing for me, like Janet and Alan Alberg, you know, like the Jolly Postman and all of those, and Dogger, and those gorgeous books that just kind of illustrated my childhood perfectly, and that's what I wanted to do. And I always liked making up little funny puns and things, and I would draw cartoon strips for my friends, and yeah, it was definitely something I always wanted to do.
Oh, that's so nice to hear. I'm so glad that you've continued your journey as well and kept that passion alive, because so many people sort of get lost along the way, or they believe that they can't quite make that living from what they love. So it's really beautiful to hear.
Yeah, you're skipping, like I did do that as well. I was that person as well, definitely. But yeah.
We'll talk about that in a more.
I'm not going to let me get away with that one.
No, definitely not. So what academic route did you take? Because obviously you were a creative child. Did you sort of, when you went into your sort of GCSEs and A-levels and stuff, were you aware that art was going to be a big part of your life? Or were you like, no, I must settle down and do something more serious to go into life with?
But both of those are true and none of those are true, because I did, at our school, I don't know if this was everywhere, but GCSE level, you could do everything. But when they said about A levels, they were quite keen that you didn't do, if you did art, it was because you wanted to do art as a degree or beyond. And I just really enjoyed doing it. And I wasn't really thinking of it from that point of view. And I was discouraged from doing it at A level because I wanted to do drama and French and sociology. And they were saying, well, you can't do art because it's basically worth 2 A levels and you'll come out of it with either having dropped out of one of your A levels, which would be fine if you're going to art school, but if you're not, you pick another route. So although I'd done brilliantly in my art GCSE and I loved it, it was one of my absolute favourites, I also really loved drama. And so I wasn't settling for a sensible career. I was like, I'm going to go and do drama at university, which I did. And I loved it. And again, yeah, the drama wasn't going to be what I did for my life, it turned out, because much as I loved doing it, I also threw up before every performance.
Oh no!
So yeah, I would literally be sick, actual vomit before I went on stage, and a bit of me was like, I think I'm going to lose all my teeth before I'm 30 if I do this, because this is not going to be sustainable. But I met, you know, my best brilliant friends at university, so I wouldn't have changed it for the world. But during my degree, I thought, well, I'm not going to do this, so what am I going to do? And coming from a family of teachers, just thought, oh, maybe that's how I can be creative through teaching, and that I know is a good job, and I understand that world because I've been amongst it, and I used to go into school with mum a lot, and she was an amazing primary head, and my dad was a secondary deputy, so I sort of felt like, yeah, I know this world, this will work. And I don't remember it being like a massively conscious choice to do it. I just thought, well, that'll be a good stable career and maybe I'll just give that a go. And I went straight into a PGCE after my degree for primary. And it was a very creative option, actually. And I do care passionately about education still, even though I'm not doing that anymore. So much as I kind of wish I'd taken the leap to do what I'm doing now earlier, I actually can't regret the 15 years of teaching that I did, because it was brilliant. And I think education is probably one of the most important well, it's the most important thing because everything stems from it, doesn't it? And as my children grow up through primary, and now one of them's in secondary, I think it even more. It's like if you don't catch them then, you're going to have another generation of sort of lost souls wandering around not knowing what they want to do. So, yeah, it wasn't that I went into something that I now regret, but definitely I'm glad I made the leap that I did.
Do you know what? It's so lovely to hear you talking about teaching in that way. And it's funny, a lot of the creators that I've had on the show have started their life in teaching. And I think it's probably because it is the most creative sort of outlet that you can have without being, a solitary artist or something like that. Because every single day you're trying to find new, innovative and creative ways to engage other people, which is exactly what art is essentially anyway, isn't it? And also from a performance perspective, getting up in front of a class of intimidating teenagers or children and being able to hold your own. I mean, it is a performance in itself, isn't it?
100%. It was that drama degree was a better sort of training ground for me than I think a lot of other things would have been, because as you say, you're kind of, first of all, you're pretending that you know what you're doing, which is the absolute, like every teacher's there going, right, okay, this is definitely going to go well, here we go. But for me, the storytelling aspect was my absolute favourite part of teaching, including like making all the little puppets and getting, drawing the story maps and making stories come alive was my favourite thing. And I worked with the early years, so I was with those little tiddly ones who are natural storytellers. The cute ones. I mean, there's a lot of bodily fluids, but they are adorable.
Nothing you're not used to now, though, eh?
No, absolutely. All training for Nora.
Oh, I love that. And I love that creative spark was kept alive through that time. What I mean, other than sort of learning how to hold your own in front of an audience, as it were, and also allowing that creative aspect to come to life and be present in your life at that point, what other things did teaching teach you? Like, what did you learn about yourself whilst you were in that career? That's a really good question. I think at first, I learned to be a lot more confident in myself as somebody that could inspire other people, because I'd always sort of kind of bumbled along a bit, I think, really. But it makes you lead and it makes you work out what you think is important. So that's an incredible kind of byproduct of being a teacher, I think, is because you have to work out what is it you want from these children, and essentially by doing that, you absolutely cement your own values, because it matters whether they're kind and it matters whether they're polite, and those sort of things come out in you as a person, not just what you're physically teaching. You're not directly saying, right, today lesson 1 is kindness, but if everything about your classroom that you set up or everything about the relationships that you build with the kids and their families is to do with kindness and respect and trust and empathy, then you learn that. Strip everything else away, forget phonics, forget, whatever targets you've got to reach. If your children that you've passed on to the next class teacher are nice to each other and know how to be themselves, then you've done a good job. Obviously, also try and get them to read and all the rest of it. But in the end, I felt like I'd done a good job if I knew they were nice little people. And now, of course, because I'm so ancient, I've got kids that I taught in reception from like my first few classes in reception who have gone through university, who are contacting me on Facebook going, oh my God, Miss Johnson, and actually, oh my goodness, this made me bawl my eyes out the other day, Kat. I had a message from a parent of a kid I taught, not in my first class, so he's only about 18, and she said, he will kill me for telling you this, but he's still got the pebble that you painted for him. So at the end of every year, I would make them a book, each child a little book, a lift the flat book with a creature that had lost its way and didn't have any friends and didn't have anywhere to live. And at the end of the book, it gets to live with that particular child. Oh. But I know. And I painted them a little pebble that went with it. So some kids had a little ladybird character, some had a butterfly, all that kind of thing. And this 18-year-old lad, who's probably twice my height, proper burly little rugby playing lad, has still got his pebble on his windowsill, his mum said. And I was like, oh, for goodness sake, bawled my eyes out. I was so pleased with that. You need to bring those back. They need to be available on your shop.
Yes, they do, don't they? They really do. Yeah, of course they do.
I mean, you need to reinvent that story and just bring it back, because I would buy one of those. That is so cute. Oh my God.
It is cute. I'm writing it down. Hang on, let me get a pencil.
Yeah, do it.
Yes.
My nieces and nephews would all get them for a birthday present. So here we are on the brave moment with a little epiphany going on for you, Rosie Johnson.
Cha-ching,
bring back your creatures. Do it.
Bring back those creatures. I'm writing it down. It's happening. I love it. Okay.
Oh, it's a beautiful moment. So, you're clearly a very, very good teacher. You clearly loved what you did. So what was that sort of defining moment where you thought, you know what, it's time for me to move on and concentrate on your art? Like, can you remember where you were, or what was going through your head at the time? Yeah,
definitely. The thing is about teaching is awesome. Schools and the education system is not necessarily as awesome. So I'm not casting aspersions on any of the places, because of the way that there's this top-down idea of, right, we've just now decided that 3 and 4-year-olds need to be able to do X, Y, and Z. I mean, my youngest now is 7, and he'll say things like, oh, Mum, yeah, that's a fronted adverbial, or, oh, that's an expanded noun phrase. And I just want to cry, because who gives a monkeys? Like, really? I know people who've done English degrees who don't know what a fronted adverbial is, and it doesn't matter. Like, I get that if you're really super interested in grammar and the technical side of things, that those things matter. But unfortunately, the school day is pretty short. And if you've decided your priority is knowing what an expanded noun phrase is, rather than telling a good story, because now we've come to a position where children are marked as correct if they put in an expanded noun phrase, rather than made their reader feel scared or delighted or thrilled. So I'm like, what are we doing to our kids? So partly the decision was made for me because I felt more and more like a square peg in a round hole. And it made me sad that the things I had to do were outweighing the things I wanted to do. And when you're a teacher, you've got quite a lot of autonomy, and obviously the relationships you build that's all down to you. But if you're fighting against something constantly, it's exhausting and depressing. So after I had my kids, and both of them were premature, so that was a bit of a worry. And I think my priorities changed, because I felt like, oh, there are very small little people that need me, and actually there are loads of good teachers, but I can only be mum to these 2 people. So going part-time meant that I had to already start kind of cutting a few of the ties with what had been my absolute career and passion. But I still didn't, that was still 5 more years of teaching, going part-time, before I decided to give this a go. And it came about quite naturally, because the last contract I did was only a year maternity cover, and I could have applied for some permanent jobs there and decided not to, and then thought, oh, okay, I'm going to just give this a go. And I've done quite a lot of personal commissions for people, wedding invitations, portraits and stuff. And the good thing about having a teaching qualification is you've always got a job if you want it. And I signed up with some supply agencies and just thought, I'm going to just give this a go for a term. And if it doesn't work, I'll start applying for other jobs. It's fine. I need a break. I need to stop doing this. I'm feeling kind of disillusioned with the whole thing. And that was a really, really gentle way, actually, of essentially letting go of what I thought was going to be my lifelong career and allowing it to naturally fade, rather than doing a massive, scary leap. I'm so lucky that my brilliant teacher parents, I'm retired now, will always be teacher parents, didn't freak out, because I was worried that they were going to go, oh, the pension and the stability, and actually the job that we understand you're not going to do anymore. They didn't do any of that. They just went, oh, Rosie, how wonderful that you're going to do something that makes you so happy. I mean, those 2 are unbelievably supportive and always have been. And since, my mum has confided that they were a bit nervous, but they never let that show. And they were always so like, great, mate, go for it. How exciting. And for the first year, I did do bits of supply, bits of commission stuff, did some markets, did little forays into what I wanted to be doing, got a book illustration job from somebody locally, and that was a really good kind of gentle way into that as well, because she was finding her way. She'd written a book and she wanted me to do it, but neither of us really knew what we were doing, and it didn't matter that we sort of made mistakes along the way because we were both new at it. That was lovely. And then I realised that I haven't chosen to do any supply work or even workshops or anything in schools for years now, because I just haven't needed to, because this has become the full-time job that I've always wanted it to be. And yes, for the first few years, it definitely wasn't paying what teaching pays, but the stress levels were nowhere near it. And the work-life balance and the sense of being in control and being who I've essentially always wanted to be has been worth its weight. And it's now to the point where I'm earning similar levels, and I'm so happy in what I've chosen to do. So it was absolutely the right choice.
I'm listening to this and I'm being reminded of my own journey and my own wonderful parents who, you know, I've always been a creative person, and when I said, hey, Mum, hey, Dad, I'm going to go to music college and become a singer, they were like, okay, that's great. And again, I'm sure there was the fear of God in them that it wouldn't work out. But luckily, I think that space to be able to make that decision and be supported by those people around you is so crucial, isn't it? To that brave jump into the unknown.
Yeah.
I'm really, really glad it worked out for you. Why do you think it worked out for you? I know that's a really weird question to ask, but what was it in your emotional ways or your logical ways that you think allowed it to work for you?
I mean, it's constant, it's continuing, isn't it? Like, it's not like it's worked and now I can put my feet up. It's just constantly feeling brave enough to say, yeah, go on then, I'll give that a go, without having to know all the answers in order to say yes. And I think that's been my absolute key thing, is not waiting till I was ready before saying yes to opportunities. So I was just, anything that anyone asked me to do, I'd say, yeah, go on then. And then I'd, work out how to do it along the way. And I think that's been the crucial part of it working relatively quickly, is that, the necessity of having to learn a new skill. So I had never done digital art at all ever before I started the business, but it soon became apparent that if I wanted to actually make some proper money, it would need to be digital in order to be able to have the turnover, to be able to have the scope. If I was going to be designing things for people on a big scale, they all needed to be digital. So just learn how to do it. So I didn't limit myself by thinking, well, I haven't got the training, I haven't got an art degree. And don't get me wrong, I often suffer that imposter syndrome of the real artists will know, they'll know I'm not. But so many people come on this journey in different ways. And my auntie always says about, I'm so glad you didn't do an art degree. They would have made you do this, this, and this. It wouldn't have been what you wanted. And who knows, it might have been brilliant, but it might have been a block in other ways. And I don't think it really matters where you've come from if you can still deliver and you can speak to people in what you're doing. And I do find it a little bit cringy or tricky for me to say I'm an artist. I find it easier to say I'm an illustrator. I don't know what the difference is, but the idea that I'm an artist makes me go, oh no, that's proper noble people who are covered in paint and really live for their art. It's like, no, it's not. It's whatever. It's fine. You're allowed to say it. But then don't make me say it. I'm not going to say it.
It's so weird. Literally, I was talking to an artist called Aisha Riffat, and we were talking about this idea of what the artist is. And again, it reflected itself again. I was talking to Laura Edmonds from Serendipity Sea Crafts. And again, she can't, she's found it really, really difficult to accept the term artist for what she does. And I've been really contemplating this, especially as a woman, because I do find that men call themselves artists, but somehow women are called crafters. And I don't know why that is. And I think maybe that's one of the reasons why we find it so hard to accept the term artist or creative or whatever. And it just sits weirdly, doesn't it?
Yeah. It's like we will accept it as a hobby.
Yeah.
Or I think it's like men are chefs and women are cooks. That's not, that isn't true, because but it's that idea that, oh no, this is what I do for fun, or I just enjoy doing it, and I just do it because I love it. And it's like, you are allowed to make money from the thing that you're good at. That is okay. Yeah. And I do think once you're an artist, there's an expectation that this will also possibly be something that you can make a living from. And I think that is a thing about, misogyny and the patriarchy a little bit, of like, it's a bit disgusting that you're wanting to make money, ladies. Sit at home and do your needlework. And it's like, well, do you know what? It is a bit disgusting, and I'd much rather not have to make that money, and I'd love to be just, so millionaire and not have to worry about whether I need to sell it or not, and just do it for the love of it. But my mortgage company will not accept a lovely painting, so I need to get on and...
Isn't that a shame?
I've tried, and actually, Nat West, if you're listening, I could do you a Murder, She Wrote special. Come on. Cat likes
I would
it.
take them. I would take Rosie up on that, Nat West. I really, really would. It's my pride and joy.
Yeah.
So talking of making money from your art or your illustrations, however you want to define yourself, can you remember the first piece that you sort of professionally sold, and how did that make you feel?
Yes, I think I can. I mean, it's really hard because there's the sort of crossover time when basically all your friends and family were being adorable and just going, yes, I'd like that, please. Yes, can I have one of those? And you're like, thanks, Mum. But I do, really embarrassingly, I do remember the first market I did, which was in Exeter on 4th Street. They do a 4th Street flea market, which is a mixture of kind of secondhand clothes and food and some craft people. And I took literally a suitcase and I just opened up a big suitcase like Del Boy and had all my little bits and pieces in there. And I had cards and pins and a few necklaces and things. And complete strangers were buying from me. And I was on cloud nine. My little cheeks were bright red. I was so excited. I was like gabbling away to these poor customers. Like, oh, you want to buy it? Are you sure you don't want me to give it to you? They're like, no, we're going to pay you real money. And it was just lovely. It felt really exciting because it was like, oh, a thing that I drew that I liked, you actually want to wear around your neck, or you want to give that to somebody for their birthday. And I am delighted. And that felt so exciting. And because it was a market, it's cash. People are giving you physical money. You're playing at shops like you might have done as a kid. And that was probably the first definite, these are strangers, they're not doing it because they're nice to me moment.
I love that. I love that you just had a random suitcase. I could see that at the beginning of a Harry Potter film.
Yeah.
Come and buy my wares.
Absolutely that. I know it's like something like a labyrinth, but yeah.
So here you are selling your wares and making money from it on cloud nine. I mean, what has been your proudest moment from that point onwards? And I know that's asking a lot to try and find that moment, but can you remember?
Yeah, I do. There have been a few, but I will say working with the Blurt Foundation, and actually their founder is not far from you, I think. They're a mental health foundation charity-ish. I think they're a charity or a community interest company, and they do a lot for people with depression and anxiety and that kind of thing. And their work is lovely, and I knew them and followed them anyway. And then when Jane, their founder, asked me to, I think the first thing she asked me to do was something like produce a huge number of these cheerleader postcards that I made. And at the time, I was doing things in 10s and 20s to shops, little wholesale orders. And I think she wanted 800. And she said, well, let's just hop on the phone and we'll talk to each other rather than doing it by email. So I was like, on the phone to her, and she said, yeah, we're going to want 800. How much will that be? And I made a noise that only dogs can hear. It was so high, proper noise. And I had this idea that I needed to be professional, and luckily she didn't mind that I wasn't, because she's such a sweetheart. But she was like, okay, I'm guessing that's a good thing. And I was like, this is the first time anyone's asked me to do anything that big. And it was going to go in there. They have a lovely subscription box of things that boost your mental health and self-care and all that kind of stuff. It's really lovely. And she said, yeah, I want this to go out to all the subscribers. And she just walked me through what they pay their illustrators, and she helped me so much. And she could have just gone, oh, I'm going to take the mick out of this person and ask for a really low price, and I wouldn't have known. And she really held my hand to it. They are people that really walk the talk. they're such nice people to work for. So whenever I've done subsequent stuff for them, and I have worked with them quite a lot since, they pay on time, and in fact, they pay early, and they say, like, if they've got a deadline, they're like, yeah, but don't work over the weekend. And then they're so nice. They really, really believe in the stuff that they say, and all the behind the scenes stuff. They look after their people really well. So that felt incredibly lovely. It was such a proud moment to work for such an ethically groovy company. So I guess that one really sticks out for me, because it felt like not only are you buying from me and it's a nice big chunk of income, it's also with somebody that matches so much with my values. It just felt like a real cha-ching moment, and not just the till noise cha-ching, but like everything coming into place. I love them.
And we'll drop a link to their website in the show notes of this. Yay. So that you can find them too, listeners, because I'm intrigued now as well. So they're wonderful. That's really cool. And it's so nice to hear that someone is actually treating an artist like a human being, because there have been so many times, and this is a conversation that I have a lot with other people, especially in the music trade, where people will say, well, come and do it for free, and then if we like you, we'll pay you for the next one.
Exposure.
Exposure. Yeah. Oh my God, that's my pet peeve of all time.
Absolutely. I again say, if you are happy to pay my utility bills and exposure, then I will work for exposure, but it's not putting food on my plate. And your work, and I think the thing is, it's tempting when you start out, isn't it, to do it, because it's like, it'll be a good experience. And I have done stuff for charities and bits and pieces where I'm very happy to do a freebie, but on my terms. Yeah. And I think the problem is, the more you do it, the more the industry suffers, because like with music, my brother's a musician, and I know how many times people have kind of gone, oh, will you just do us this thing? And it's not that you don't want to do it, but the more that you offer your work for free, the less it's valued generally, and not just your work, but everybody's work. Because if someone will do it for free, why would anybody pay another person the going rate? So Precisely. We've all got to, for each other's sake, say, actually, this is how much it costs. This is how much my time costs. And I'm really sorry if you can't afford it, but that's what it is. And then everybody accepts that your work does not magically appear on a page. You have to put the time, the effort, the skill, the creativity into it. And if you want that and you value it, then you pay for it.
I agree. And it's also linked to your self-worth, isn't it? Because I find that people that undervalue themselves sometimes are less likely to want to charge a lot of money, and that's because they feel shy about their worth.
Definitely. And we don't have somebody doing our marketing for us to take all that out of our hands.
I feel you. I'm putting my hand up in solidarity right now. So talking of your work, how would you describe it to other people? Because I was trying to figure out a way, and the only way I can describe it is like politics wrapped in rainbows and unicorns and happiness and my inner workings. That's the only way I can describe it.
Yeah, I mean, that's as good a description as any. Do you know what? It's really interesting that, because I think more and more, particularly over this last year where I have got more visibly political, I've always been political, but I've been, if you look at my Instagram feed, there's no cohesion to it at all. It's just the inner workings wonderful. Of my mind. So, but there's one day there's me absolutely slating Boris Johnson, and the next one is a card about kindness, and I'm like, is this okay? But I think it is okay, because it's like, well, yeah, because that's all of that is me, and I would never be unkind to Boris Johnson as a human being. However, if you are suggesting you can lead our country, then we've got an issue. And I do think that's really important to say. I don't care that he looks like a scarecrow. That isn't, I mean, he does, but that's not the reason why I think he's a terrible politician. He's a terrible politician because he's no good at his job. So it's like, and I want to be able to kind of go, you can be really kind and empathetic and lovely to people and listen to them, but you can also have very important discussions, and that's all okay. It's not like #BeKind to shut people up. It's be kind and be empathetic to the goal of a better society where people are looked after. And I don't mind not being particularly kind to the people at the top, because you're punching up. I would never punch down. I'd never make fun of people who are less privileged than me. And I understand, as a white middle class woman living in lovely sunny Devon, well, a bit cloudy Devon, that I'm incredibly privileged. And I hope that I can, when I cock up, which I do, I go, oh, I've overstepped my mark. And I really feel like I am sometimes in dangerous territory, because it's like, am I making this all about me when I express these opinions, particularly on Instagram, because there's a nice little following there, and there's lots of people kind of interact with it, and they're saying, oh, thank you for saying that. And I'm like, oh no, it's not just me saying it. I'm just trying to say that this needs to be thought about, and it's other people that you could follow and do this. And it's a fine line, isn't it? But I would say, as an artist,
well done.
Thank you very much. Can I have a sticker, please? I think if you can make people feel seen and heard by drawing stuff, I guess that's how I would be able to encompass everything that I'm trying to do. So sometimes that's anger because people are annoyed about what's going on in the world. And sometimes that's just pure empathy and love and joy, because that also exists at the same time. So I'm trying to draw how I feel and hopefully let that chime with other people. And that's why it's a big mixed bag, because I'm not a 100% positive, happy rainbow person, but I do try and have an optimistic or a humorous spin on it, because otherwise you spiral into despair. So I don't want I can be angry without being despairing. I'll always have hope that there's better things. And even if I'm the only person with a little candle on going, no, still hope, there's still hope, there's still light, I will continue to be that person, because that's very much who I am. But I'm not at the expense of my angry muscle, which gets flexed quite a lot.
But that's exactly what art is for, isn't it? Art is there to provoke conversation, and regardless of what form you sort of invest your time into. So as the artist, it's that place where you can express and hope to start that conversation with other people. But as the receiver, you are stimulated, whether you're, watching a film that has underlying threads of emotional connection or storyline that's really, really important and helps to change your mind that way, whether you're listening to a song that you relate to lyrically or, half of the stuff that came out in the 90s, like the Beastie Boys and all of that kind of stuff, even like, people like Eminem and Professor Green and all of those kind of people coming out with these statements. And now we have people like Georgia Smith coming along in the music scene and provoking that conversation through their music. And now we, when we look at art, especially someone like you, it reminds me of those very, very clever comedians that can talk about things that are really, really important, but still give people that hope and still give people that kind of wink and a smile at the same time. And you seem to have found the perfect balance between getting the point across, and a serious point at that, but equally making people smile with it and making people think about it and be proud to show that they're in solidarity with that opinion by either wearing your work or displaying your work on their, social media or whatever. And that must have, I don't know how long that's taken you. Oh, you're so welcome, girl. It was amazing. But has that been a journey for you? I mean, did you start off in one way and have ended up here, or has that always been a statement that you're sort of very mindful of when you create?
I suppose it's kind of developed as my confidence has grown. So I definitely feel now less bothered by the idea that I might lose followers or that people might not want to buy from me because of an opinion than I would have done. Only because when I was first starting out, I was like, who am I to say any of these? Like, how dare I kind of put it all out there? But now, after a few years, I'm just like, oh, do you know what? This is how I feel. And if you don't want to sign up for that, I'm okay with that. It's not for you. There's loads of other people that could be for you. I'm not providing a public service. I'm not trying to be a BBC or be balanced or whatever. I'd rather be absolutely 100% myself and bring people along. That's not to say I'm not flexible in my opinions. I absolutely am. And I'm not that kind of take me or leave me. I'll say it how it is, because those people are just excusing the fact that they're rude, aren't they? But I do think politics matters to me so much, and equality matters so much, that I'm not prepared to go, oh, well, I won't say that in case if it upsets anybody, because if it upsets you, then it's making you think. And if you're not ready to hear that, then that's okay. You don't have to. But I'm not responsible for your reaction to it. So if you, and I do think that's actually helped me massively, because I have lost followers and I have lost subscribers to the newsletter and stuff along the way, who've told me very, very specifically it's because of my politics. And I have politely responded, that's cool, then I don't think I'm for you and you're not for me, and that's absolutely okay. I've also had people who don't agree with me who've stuck around and have just had like little nice gentle back and forth debate with me over it, and I would much rather that. Because if we all pretend that you can't talk about politics or religion or whatever it might be, then nothing ever changes, because we're all just then stuck in our little bubbles, aren't we, of everybody thinks the same as me. It's like, well, they really don't. Walk down your street and the political views from apathy to absolute raging political stalwarts are on my road, in my actual road. I know this because I have canvassed. And I've had people shut the door in my face and I've gone, okay. But I think it's so important. I think because I know in my heart it's so important to me that by hiding it, I would be denying a huge part of myself. And now that the stuff that I create is very much like, hello, here is my soul on a plate. I do hope you like it. And I'm not like so ballsy that it doesn't hurt me when people are like, no, this is crap, I'm not interested. Or if people don't, if it doesn't chime with people, it's upsetting. But it's also like, well, there's nothing I can do. I'm not going to pretend I can do the stuff that seems to be trendy or popular, because I will hate doing it and it won't come across as authentic.
And it's so important. And I think, chiming back to that fine balance between, your thoughts and that wink and a smile attitude that comes across in your pieces. It is, like you rightly say, it's none of your business really how other people choose to react to your art.
Yeah.
But, thinking about brave moments and making that leap from teaching, which did have a lot of red tape, into the life that you lead now. I mean, it must be such a freedom for you to, and a confidence to be able to put your stuff out there in a way that makes you feel proud as a person.
Definitely. That is the best part, is being my authentic self, I suppose, and not having to fit myself into a mold that I'm not quite comfortable with, which you, I think, assume as you go into the world of work, that that's what everybody has to do, and lots of people do, and that will be their entire experience of work, and they'll live for the weekend. And I don't deny that that is the reality for most people, and I know how lucky I am to be able to make a living from something that feels like the only compromises I make are that I'm maybe not making as much money, but I honestly just don't care. I don't care. It's so, the little simple range is fine, mate. All good. Go at the end of the day, loads of bargains, the kids are fed. You don't need as much as you think you need. And I realised that when I was teaching and unhappy, I was spending that money anyway on things that I thought would make me happy. Whereas now, to fill very much the void, which was absolutely part of it. And now it's like, well, yeah, I still, we just don't really need that much, because I don't start Monday morning going, oh God. I start Monday morning going, woohoo, lucky me.
I'm thinking now back to another interview that I had with a lady called Zara Janjua, who's fantastic. She's a BAFTA award-winning comedian and part of the Writers series. And she said something which I just thought, yeah, that's exactly what it is. She said, do you know what? I've been so lucky. I've never had to work a day in my life. And about her career. And she's another creative, obviously. And I thought, do you know what? There's very few moments in my life where I've thought, you know what, I've actually worked, and I put that in quote unquote marks. And we are very, very lucky. And like you said, it's not really about the money, because you find that balance in life anyway. And you realize that, like you rightly say, you don't need as much as you think you do in order to be happy. And art or that portion of your life that you devote to your work, if you cannot work that portion of life that you work, that's a priceless thing, isn't it? So what advice would you give to other people who maybe in that point, maybe just before their brave moment where they transition out? What advice would you give them about life on the other side?
Life on the other side. Wow. Oh, I guess that you are capable of doing good things, and that failure is absolutely not the end point, and it is in fact undeniably necessary if you want to succeed in something. So I don't know, there's the only thing that's stopping you is you can just go for it. And also what I said before about just saying yes to opportunities even if you don't think you're quite ready, because I can bet you there is an average white man saying yes without thinking about it. So I'm probably speaking to women, I think, as I say it, because I think a lot of women are like, well, I couldn't, I haven't done this and I haven't done that, or I've got the kids and I've got to be flexible around all of that. And it's just like, yeah, but so's everybody. Like, don't worry about it. Nobody is absolutely nailing it all of the time. So why not you?
I love that.
I guess.
That's a mic drop moment right there. Why not you? Yes, that's my next tattoo. Talking of that balance, before we go into your quickfire question round, I've just got a couple more questions. I'm so excited about that, by the way. Talking of that balance, how do you balance your work against your home life? What top tips would you give for that?
Yeah, again, I suppose like you were saying before, when your work doesn't feel like work, even if you're putting loads of effort into it, the balance has to come emotionally, doesn't it? It's not necessarily about I work these hours and therefore I am balanced. But I mean, we're lucky. Both my partner and I, he's left teaching but works with autistic children now, but his hours are much more flexible than they were as a teacher. So he's able to take our son to school and I'm able to pick him up every day, which feels like, oh, that's a really nice thing that, again, lots of people don't get the luxury of having. And I certainly didn't as a teacher. So I know that as long as I've checked in with my kids and we've had a proper bit of chat in the day, that feels like balance. Because both of us have come from teaching and we understand that we used to work every Sunday. We'd have a weekend day and then we would split our Sunday. So he'd work in the morning, I'd work in the afternoon, but we'd never have a full weekend for the 15 years that I was teaching at the same time as he was. That's how it was. So now I'm kind of twiddling my thumbs on a Sunday morning going, I'm going to have another cup of tea. Because I haven't got to mark anything or prepare anything. And any work that I do need to do is for me and I can decide. And that's been flipping lush, realising that I can go, oh, my friend can only see me on a Tuesday afternoon. And I can either say, well, I'm working, or I can go, yeah, I'm going to come and see my friend. And then I'll do that work in the evening once the kids are in bed. And that is absolutely on me. Or I won't do it at all and I'll leave it. It's fine. And it can wait another day. And that feels amazing. And I know that at certain periods, like before leading up to Christmas, and I write a pantomime every year, and that's quite a stressful couple of weeks. Oh yeah, did I not mention that? Oh no, you don't. Oh yes, I do. Yeah,
you're a woman of many talents. That's amazing.
Well, it is ridiculous. I love writing, and I don't do as much of it as I'd like because obviously most of what I do is drawing, but I write a pantomime for a travelling children's theatre company. So that I know, and I'm a bit gutted because it's London and the South East, so I never get to see it in action apart from when they film it. But this, the last year they did it as a virtual performance, so I got to see that, and they just beamed it into schools. Wow. Yeah, so that's really nice. And then I know when I'm working on those, the balance shifts, but then I think that's okay because everybody in the family knows that it can shift back the other way, and I don't have to I'm not constantly away at work. I'm not travelling miles and miles to get to work. There's no commute, isn't that? So my commute is literally walking 15 minutes to my mum and dad's attic from my house. So, it's all good, mate. It's all good.
I freaking love that. I love that you just threw that in right at the last minute. Oh yeah, I just write pantomimes, for fun. Sure.
Yeah, just stick it in. I mean, not for fun, for money. I don't do it for fun. No, I do it. It's fun. But they do pay me.
So one of the questions I want to ask you just before we go into this quickfire is, if you were to meet your 100-year-old self today, what advice would she give you going forward?
She'd probably tell me to floss and do my pelvic floor exercises. No. She'd be like, for God's sake, Rosie, stop eating sweets. What advice would she give me? I imagine probably to look in the mirror and be pleased rather than continually going, oh, I'm 42, look at these crow's feet, oh, geez, another grey hair. And I realised that even just looking at photos of me from 10 years ago, and I was like, hang on a minute, I thought I looked awful and I looked gorgeous. What's my problem? So I'm going to imagine that she's going to tell me to let that absolute crap go and just be utterly, furiously in love with myself. And as a mum of a preteen daughter, I realise how much I want her to love, and my son, of course, but I think the pressures are different, aren't they? I want her to look at herself in the mirror and think, yeah, mate, lucky me. And not just because everything works, because I think it's tricky. You know, it's about a bit like saying, oh, there's people who are starving in the world. You've just got to think you're lucky. It's like, yeah, that's true, but it's all relative. And I don't want her to have to kind of go, well, my arms and legs work and therefore I'm lucky. I want her to look at herself and think, blimey, I'm gorgeous. And I imagine that my older self would want that for me now. So I'm going to listen to 100-year-old Rosie.
That's brilliant. I think everyone should take advice from 100-year-old Rosie, especially, you know, the people that listen to the show who do feel maybe a little underconfident or are just starting to acknowledge how amazing they are. And my mum, I mean, my mum's in her 60s now, and we were having that sort of chat the other day because she's gorgeous. I mean, she is a woman who's embraced every part of herself and she's amazing. And I was like, you know, what's your tips for keeping confident as you age? And she was like, I love my insides. I just love my insides. I'm in love with my organs. I'm in love with my muscles. I just love my insides so much. And the perfect thing about my insides is no one has an opinion on them but me. And I was like, yes, Patty Savage.
Oh my goodness. I've got a lot of time for your mum. She sounds ace. Yes, please.
I think she's probably hanging out with 100-year-old Rosie because they sound like they're cut from the same cloth.
Yeah. Putting the world to rights.
So I'm going to throw you now into your quick fire question round. Are you ready, Rosie Johnson?
I don't know, but let's try. Go.
Okay. Favorite book that inspired you and why?
Okay, I'm going to go for Dogger, Shirley Hughes' Dogger, which is a children's book. And it inspired me because it looked like my childhood, my late 70s, early 80s childhood. It's just a everyday story of proper family love and affection and a little random act of kindness because the big sister gives the little brother... She sorts it out so that he gets his special toy dog back. And it's just beautiful. And I loved it. And I still love it. It's my favourite.
Favourite film?
Okay, this is embarrassing, but it is my favourite film. So I thought, when you sent me the question, I was like, shall I lie? I was like, no, I will not. My favourite film is North by Northwest. It's a Hitchcock film with Cary Grant. And I adore Cary Grant, and I'm sure he's deeply problematic, and I don't want to know because he's so beautiful. He was so beautiful. And every shot of that film is a poster, and it's gorgeous, and I love the soundtrack, and I can reel off huge chunks of the dialogue, and I just loved it. It's great.
Thing you would rescue from your home if you had to?
My ragdoll Molly from when I was a baby.
Oh, shout out to Molly from my one Scamp. I've got an old raggedy horse called Scamp. Oh my God. I lost him in France once, and luckily, the hotel that I was staying in found him and sent him back with a little note saying how he'd enjoyed his stay, how he went on the little boat and all the rest of it. I've still got that note.
France. Oh, that's so lush. I love that. Oh, thank goodness for that.
I know, right? What do you cherish in your life as we speak?
Right now, because I've just moved my workspace over to my mum and dad's, I'm loving having everyday little moments with them. So yeah, time with my parents, I say.
Oh, epic fail.
Oh God. Okay. Epic fail. I once, a week after passing my driving test when I was 17, I drove my mum's car into a stationary lorry and wrote it off.
You're rock and roll, girl.
Oh my God. So embarrassing.
Was your mum like, it's okay because you're fine? Or was she like, oh my God, you've ruined my car?
She was 100% the former. She was so nice about it. I phoned her from the phone box and in tears, and she's like, oh, thank God you're okay. It's only a car. I was like, oh my God, I love you. I'm so sorry. The insurance claim, obviously, massive, but yeah, she was lovely.
Weird thing about you or that you do?
Okay. Oh, God. I mean, stuff that I want to actually have broadcast is the real thing, isn't it? Weird thing about me, everything on my right side is smaller than everything on my left side. So my right foot is half a size smaller than my left. My right boob is, not good. I get blocked right ear and my left ear. So I think it's because I'm so left wing. That's what it is. My right side just shrivels.
I don't know what that says about me because I'm like half deaf in my left ear and my left side is slightly wonky. Like I've got like a bit of a lazy eye on the left side and I always have to balance it out with my eyeliner.
Oh.
It's always like really thick on one side and really thin on the other.
That's okay, because between us, we'd make one complete human being. That's
yes, fine. I love it. Pet peeve.
Oh, loads, I'm afraid. I'm a bit, I don't like lateness because I hate being late. And in fact, on time is late, as far as I'm concerned. You always me 3 minutes early, please. I hate when my son says sure when he means yes, please. So you'll say, would you like an ice cream, Sid? Sure. No, wait. Do you mean yes, please? Actually, manners. And I always pick up on it when people say less when they mean fewer. And I think that's just the teacher in me.
Oh my God, you must love today. You just must love it with all the texting and emojis and oh my goodness. I can have a whole conversation now on emojis. It's crazy. That aubergine, I swear to God. Favorite thing about yourself?
I like that I never seem to run out of ideas.
Oh, that's a good one. Your imagination is still intact. Huzzah, huzzah.
It is. Yeah.
Thing you would change?
Oh, I'm so messy. I'm so untidy. And I thought I'd grow out of it. I thought being a grown-up meant being tidy, and it doesn't. It really doesn't.
Organised chaos, I like to say.
But it's just chaos. There's no organised. I lose stuff all the time. It's awful. There's no pride in it at all. I'm just embarrassed and ashamed.
What does your inner child look like, and what is her favourite thing to do?
Oh, I mean, do you know what? I think my inner child is just actually me. I don't think it's any different. My inner child would be doodling, which is all basically I do. My son says my job is colouring in. I was like, yeah, cheers, mate. So yeah, colouring in, eating sandwiches. I mean, I can't eat sandwiches anymore because bread makes me bloat up horribly, normal bread. So I guess my inner child is allowed to eat as many sandwiches as she likes. Yes, that's what I'm doing, just doodling in pair of dungarees.
Excellent. Are they yak? Are they the yak ones?
Of course, yeah, of course. Bright orange.
Nice. Best piece of advice you've ever received?
It's a bit of advice that I then also pass on is, what do you want the outcome to be? So if it's in a fight with somebody, if you're having an argument, if you can't see an end point of something, and you're thinking, oh, but I just really need them to know that I feel like this about it, that you take a deep breath and go, well, what do you want the outcome to be? And if the outcome is that you want everyone to be friends, then how are you going to get to that? Rather than, I need to be right. Sometimes it's better to be nice. And sometimes it's better to be right in your own head and write it all down and all the rest of it, that the outcome is the important thing.
That's awesome advice. And one, oh my God, I'm taking that on board myself because I'm an exploder. I, as my husband say, cat bomb things. So I will just let everything out on the plate and then afterwards really regret it. So that's great advice. Thank you for that. I'm going to take that. You can take one of your heroes or heroines out to dinner. Who is it and where would you take them?
Okay. I would take Jane Fonda.
Jane Fonda!
Anywhere. Oh, I absolutely flipping love that woman.
She's
what a dude.
Amazing.
How cool to be that much of a legend way before your time. Like, just the number of times she's been arrested for what she believes in. I was like, yes, mate, you're so cool. And I think I just take it anywhere quiet because I find I'm a little bit deaf in one ear as well. And I find it really hard to, in a crowded restaurant, I'd be so annoyed that everyone was talking and eating. I'd be like, I can't hear Jane Fonda. So maybe we just get a takeaway and sit down the beach.
Oh my God, can you please make that one of your next illustrations, you and Jane Fonda just having dinner somewhere? Oh my God, I will buy it. So you know It's already sold.
Sure, it's a deal.
Song you absolutely must sing along to in the car?
I can't remember who it's by. What's Higher and Higher? You know, that Because your love keeps lifting me.
Yeah.
Jackie Wilson. I love that song so much. It's such a beaut. I love it.
Oh my God. You're taking me back. I used to be in a 10-piece soul band called Joey the Lips, and my singer, the male singer in the band, used to sing that. And me and the other female singer in the band, shout out Naomi Tanton, awesome lady that she is.
Hey.
We used to have to do the really high harmonies on that song. And
Go on, do it for me now, Kat.
Oh God, no, it's too early, girl. It's too early. But there's loads of recordings of it online, so you can just Google it.
Definitely. I think I must have seen you perform then, because I've seen Joey the Lips plenty of times.
Yay!
Oh, how cool. Yay.
Oh my God, that is cool. Yeah, we used to do like Exmouth pavilions all the time. So yeah. Ah, that's so cool. 6 degrees of separation. Your last meal on earth?
It's going to have to be tuna pea pie. Little callback to earlier.
Oh my God. Not the same for you, Patty Savage. I'm afraid that fish pie has died with my childhood. Yeah. Thank God.
Sorry.
If there was a zombie apocalypse, what would you use as a weapon, and where would you hide?
I mean, there definitely will be one. I'm going to go full Shaun of the Dead. I'm going to go for some kind of a shovel. What's the line? Is it destroy the brain or remove the head? Something like that. It's something I could destroy the brain or remove the head with. And I'll go and hide out in the Winchester with Simon Pegg. Thanks
and Jane Fonda.
Yeah, and Jane Fonda, yes. Combined.
Oh my goodness, that was the funniest, funnest, awesomest quickfire question round I think I've ever had. I'm going to give you the solitary clap. Here it comes. So I have just one more question to ask you, and I was going to ask what your advice would be for the world right now, but I want to ask instead, what do you hope people see in your work, and what do you hope people will say about you in the future?
Oh my goodness. I hope that in some way, at least one thing that I draw helps people to understand that they're not alone in their feelings. I guess that would be my one thing, I reckon.
Oh, I love it. I'm going to ask you that other question anyway. What advice would you like to give to the world right now?
Oh, God. I mean, everyone calm down. I would say mostly because so much of the world, particularly this last year, has been online, and that's where a lot of awful things happen, is to say, just park your defensiveness and listen to other people, because there is empathy is so much more important now than it ever has been before. You may not like being told that the things you've always felt are wrong, but it's so much more constructive if you can, just for a bit at least, go, okay, I'm prepared to accept that an invitation to listen isn't actually an attack on me. It's just asking me to do better. So I think if we could all do that, me included, just to go, all right, I might have cocked up a few times, but it doesn't make me a bad person necessarily, but it does if I continue to cock up and ignore what people are asking me to do. That's long, isn't it? That's a bit of a long one.
No, I love it.
Cool. Just listen to the people, for Christ's sake.
Rosie Johnson illustrates. It has been such a pleasure to interview today. I was going if people want to find your work, where should they look for you online?
I am rosiejohnsonillustrates.com, and the same on Instagram, and I think it's Rosie Johnson Illustration on Facebook, and I'm not sure why, but it is. And if you just want to come and rant at things on Twitter, I think I'm Rosie_Johnson on that, but that is just mainly me retweeting comedians and Taskmaster outtakes, so I don't know how helpful that is. But yeah, that's where I am. Come and find me.
Thank you so much, Rosie. It's been such a joy today.
It's been ace. Thank you so much.
I enjoyed this interview so much. Rosie's personality is true to her art, fresh, punchy, and bound to make you smile. I can only imagine what a loss it was to the teaching community to lose such a bright spark of energy, but their loss is definitely our gain. Rosie demonstrates just what can be achieved in a very small amount of time when it comes to unleashing your talent on the world. 2 bits of advice that she said that really stood out to me today were: failure is undeniably necessary, and you don't need as much as you think you need. When starting out in the arts, it can be a little bit of a minefield. There is definitely no consistency. You have to make hay when the sun shines and be comfortable living on cans of beans and on your mate's couch in the rough times. But if there is one thing I know to be true, you will never be bored. Some of my favourite memories of when I started out are making music until the sun came up, finding innovative ways to make a fiver last all week, and as a consequence, knowing that I was free to pop into a museum on a vacant afternoon or share a ride with a friend because I couldn't afford the train fare. Those moments, which may freak out the more regimented among us, were the moments I cherish the most, because they made myself and my art what it is today. Through failure, we learn resilience. Through not knowing what happens next, we learn about initiative and innovation, and believe me, it takes a creative person to find a great solution to living on a shoestring. Every moment is exciting when you're a creative person. I know no other sector that can live so close to fear, rejection, judgment, and poverty and find a way to make all of it utterly beautiful. There is a reason why the world envies artists. What we can do and what we can show the world is an expression of what every person has access to, but many will never endeavour to utilise. It is up to artists to reflect back, as Rosie says, what another person might be feeling but cannot find the words or will to express for themselves. This is priceless. Something us artists need to remember when others confuse art with frivolity or a lack of seriousness. Remember that in a world fueled by finance, creatives must remember their worth. Rosie made a great point about how when artists are taken advantage of financially, it affects the whole industry. I mean, why pay someone what they're worth if another will do it for free? Of course, there are moments where you may, as an artist, want to help raise awareness for a charity or donate a piece for a good cause. But on the whole, try and be confident in what you're worth. When I was starting out, a friend of mine said the minimum you should charge for a piece of work is your time by the hour and then times it by 3. That way, you pay yourself for how long it took to create your work, you've included the commission a gallery may take, and you walk away with the profit you deserve after all the postage and packaging and marketing the piece. I remember saying to her, "And this is the minimum I should be charging?" And she said, "Absolutely. When you're an artist, you're providing magic in a world full of muggles. Look at J.K. Rowling's Vault at Gringotts, for Christ's sake." And even if you don't feel ready for an opportunity, try and be brave enough to take it anyway. By saying yes, you instantly expand your comfort zone. You can't stay in the same shoe size forever. You've got to grow. And every yes means an open door, a chance meeting, a network opportunity. I was in this position in 2019 when I had an opportunity to work out in Vietnam. I knew if I took it, I would lose one of my stable sources of income, but I knew in my heart that it was right. I was scared, but still, I knew I had to say yes, and everyone around me was saying I should say yes as well, so that made it a bit easier for me to make that decision in the end. As soon as I arrived in Vietnam, I knew it was the right choice. Whilst working out there, I met some of my favourite people in the world, the beautiful artivists at a company called Dancing Fox. Check them out online, people. They changed my world completely and expanded my creative endeavours to boot. Please take Rosie's advice on this one. It really is the best way to evolve, and it will make you feel incredible things like confidence and trust in your ability and satisfaction and self-worth. Why not you, Rosie says. Indeed, why not? On that note, Rosie's 100-year-old self gave the advice to be utterly and furiously in love with yourself. In a world where we are constantly told that we are not enough without the latest device, fashion, surgery, or even the right job, to love yourself is a rebellious act. And you can show the world not only in your courage and curiosity, but you can also show them through your actions and, of course, your art. As Alice Walker once said, the most common way that people give up their power is by believing they don't have any. You have so much power and so much talent, my friends. To hide it from the world is to deny the world of so much. So let's do as Rosie does and wake it up in others and in new and exciting creative ways. Next time on The Brave Moment, we speak to Weapons of Sound's incredibly talented Hannah Jordan. Thank you so much for taking the time to listen to the show. If you have a spare moment now, please like, subscribe, and tell me your thoughts in a review on Apple Podcasts, which will really help other people like yourself to find the show. Of course, you can also share the show with your friends by following us at The Brave Moment Podcast on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube, or on Twitter at Moment Brave, or just follow the Linktree on all of our social media platforms. It's been so wonderful to have you all here with me again. Please get in touch with your own stories, and remember, your brave moment starts now.